Welcome back as we continue to talk about the practical guide to Zakat. In the next few videos, we're going to talk about each commodity on which Zakat is obligatory, and we're going to talk about the Nisab, then the Sharah, and some other frequently asked questions around those topics. So let's begin. As we begin this, let's just remind ourselves with these two terminologies of Nisab and Sharah. Nisab is a threshold after which Zakat becomes mandatory. And then Sharah is the percentage or the proportion of the amount that you have to give in Zakat from the total property. So with that in mind, let's look at gold as the first commodity. Now, in the time of Prophet ﷺ, people would have gold in terms of jewelry and other items as well, and they would also use gold as a currency, and the dinar would be made out of gold. So Prophet ﷺ has told us that the nisab of gold is 20 dinar, which is equal to 87 grams of gold. And if that amount of gold is in person's possession for 1 lunar year or more, after that time frame, then you have to give zakat on it. And then the sharah of this is 2.5%. So this means that whatever amount of gold you have multiplied by 2.5 and divided by 100, and the amount that comes out will be the amount due for zakat for that year. Now you can give it in the form of gold itself, or you can give money of similar value in charity and zakat. Now when it comes to gold, this also includes gold that person is using for their own selves, and also that they have kept saved for some reasons. You know, in terms of business items and other commodities, many times items of personal use are exempted from zakat. But when it comes to gold and silver, they're not exempted from zakat, even if you're using it for personal use. So if a woman has jewelry made out of gold, and even if they use it for their daily use or personal use, that also should be included in calculating the total amount of gold in possession for calculating the zakat amount. And we see this as an example that Prophet ﷺ asked a woman who had gold bracelets on her daughters, and he asked her if she was giving zakat on that. And similarly, he asked as Aisha radiallahu anha when she was wearing a silver ring about her zakat as well. Now let's talk about silver. The dirham at that time was made out of silver, and the instruction is that 200 dirham is the nisab for silver, which equals to about 600 grams of silver. Precisely, it's 595 grams. So about 600 grams of silver will make you zakat eligible if you have had that amount for more than 1 year. And the sharah of this is similar to gold of 2.5%. So you multiply the amount of silver you have by 2.5 and divide it by 100, and the amount that comes out is the amount that you have to pay in zakat. Now let's move on to money. Money now is in different forms. Now people may have paper money, or they may have plastic money. They may have bank balances where there is not an actual money, but they know that how much is in their possession. Similarly, they may have money in forms of stocks or shares or cryptocurrency or whatnot. There are different forms of money that now exist. So how do we calculate zakat on that? We treat all of these forms of money as one single commodity. This includes money that you have under your possession and money that you have access to. So there might be some amount of money that you don't have direct possession right now, but you can easily access it because you have invested it in a fund, or you have put it in a side fund for a retirement fund or college fund, but there is some amount of it that you can access even today. So this is how we calculate the total money pool, and we'll walk through some examples and step by step look at how you should calculate your total pool. So what's the nisab of money? Nisab of money is derived from the nisab of gold and nisab of silver, because those were the thresholds that were defined by Prophet ﷺ. If you look at gold, dinar was made out of gold, and the weight of gold is 87 grams. So 87 grams of gold is the nisab, which means that if I have to calculate the nisab for money, I will look at in my place where I live, what is the price of 87 grams of gold, and if I have possession above that for over a year, then I have to give zakat. Now, the other way to look at it would be to use silver as the threshold for money's nisab. Now, if we use silver, which is about 595 grams of silver, and we look at the value of that amount of silver, the value will be very different than gold. At the time of Prophet ﷺ, 20 dinar and 200 dirham, which is made out of silver, and dinar is made out of gold, almost had the similar value in that society. But in today's time, we see that the value of silver has either gone down or is pretty low compared to the value of gold, which has gone up a lot. So there's a big discrepancy. For example, if today I calculate the nisab using gold or silver in US dollars in the US context, then from using gold, the nisab will be 5,500. And whereas if I use silver as my nisab threshold calculator, then the nisab would be $440. So there's a big difference. Should I use gold or should I use silver? Now, scholars would say that we should encourage the threshold which facilitates more giving and which facilitates filling this purpose of returning the wealth to the poor and alleviating poverty. So my suggestion would be use the value of silver to calculate your nisab, because of course your amount due will also be proportionate to the amount you have. For example, if someone has just $500 in their account for a whole year, they would be above the level of nisab as calculated by silver value. And after the whole year, the only amount they have to give in zakat is 2.5%, which is $12.50. That's like maybe your money that you spend for coffee in a week, or amount that you spend on a couple of meals. So $12.50, which is almost $1 a month, if you look at it for the whole year, is the proportion that you have to give out in zakat. And the person you're going to give it to probably doesn't even have that much amount. Right? So think of it in this way, that this is a way that Allah is purifying my wealth. So instead of using high-end nisab of gold, use the low-end nisab of silver to give your charity. Now, the benefit of having this high end of gold and low end of silver is also that maybe the person who you give zakat to falls in the category below the level of gold. So you can still give them zakat. They may not have lots of money, and the money they have is not enough to fulfill their needs, and they come in the category of masakin, which is that they have, basic needs of life, but it's not enough to meet their demands. So, this is interesting that we now have two thresholds. We can use one of them to see, do I need to give zakat? And the other one to see, whom am I giving zakat to? And be more generous in that category. You don't have to really be very strict and find the poorest of the poor, but you can be careful to see who needs it in the society and for what reasons. So subhanAllah, there's benefit of having both of these commodities as our threshold for nisab, for money calculation. The sharah, the amount that you have to give in zakat for money, is also the same as gold and silver, which is 2.5%. Now, zakat is an amazing system because no other economic system can take care of our needs of the underserved people of the society in such a beautiful manner. Zakat is on your savings. You have had this money at least above this threshold for 1 year or more, and now you're giving it out of your savings. Let's say someone earns a lot of money, but they also have lots of expenditure, and all that money goes away in their expenditure and they save nothing, right? So it's not an income tax. It's not the amount on the money that you're earning. Rather, it's the money that you're saving. So which is surplus, which is certainly more than what you needed. And out of that, a small amount goes back to the poor to alleviate poverty. That's the main purpose of zakat: alleviate suffering, alleviate poverty. And of course, we'll talk about what other categories you can spend zakat in, but most importantly, the first category comes as fuqara, the poor of the society. As we now talk about different categories of money, because your money could be in different areas and different funds or different places, think of this, that what you need to do on your date of zakat calculation, which let's say it's 1st of Ramadan. Fix that date. On that date, you're going to look at what's in all these different areas where your money is invested, or you have put it or saved it. Calculate all of it together and pool it together, and then calculate the sharah, which is 2.5% from it. Your bank balances, your savings, the money you have in hand as cash, all will come in that category. That is simple. I hope you learned from this video, and inshallah I will see you in the next one. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.